Hey, Colin, this is Jay Sadler calling from CFMH out in St. John.
Awesome.
How's it going?
Oh, it's good. It's good. We're, drifting into the rainy season. So, Vancouver's turning.
Yeah, the wet season, but at least it doesn't get too cold out there, right? It just kind of stays the wet and mild.
Yeah. Pretty good. It's like, after 5 months or 4 months, though, come November to March is a challenge, but not as much of a challenge as some places. So.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, out here in the East Coast, actually in St. John it can stay mild, surprisingly mild, but usually we get dumped with quite a few centimeters of snow, but it's all good.
Yeah, we don't escape snow. It's just it doesn't usually last. But lately, you can pretty much count on snow. There was a time when you wouldn't get any. I think lately I've noticed more snow like around Christmas time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. But like 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and it's gone. Kind of
Okay.
thing.
Yeah, that's not too bad. Bad.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot for joining me on the show here tonight. I know you're going to be here in St. John on October 6th at the Imperial Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously you're on the road for your new record, Open Road, which won the Juno for Blues Album of the Year in 2022. But I was actually kind of curious about the nomination you got at the Blues Rock album at the Blues Foundation in Memphis. That's kind of a new thing for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's my first American nomination ever. Last year I also headlined my first blues festival in Buffalo. In the States, my first headlining job at a blues festival. So, we're slowly kind of getting into the blues scene down there. There's so many bands, and I left it alone for so many years that I almost had to start from scratch again, down south of the border. But for the last 3 records, because they've been decidedly blues based, we're slowly kind of eroding we're starting to make a mark, and that's been nice. I mean, we did the tour with Buddy Guy, and that was really great to get to a bunch of cities I hadn't been to in quite a long time, and to be able to play full houses with his audience was a pleasure as well.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I was going to ask you if it brings back memories of kind of the early days where you're kind of grinding and building something from nothing, but I guess if you're opening for Buddy Guy, that can help quite a bit.
It does help, but at the end of the day, you're still that guy opening the show, and you're either people are gonna like it or they're not. And I have to say, as much as it's hard kind of building up again in a new place, it's also a little freeing because when people know you really well, it's not that you can sit back on your laurels, but you don't have to prove yourself. You just have to put on as good a show as you can. And down there, you have to just play well and turn an audience around, Okay. And so that's a challenge, and I like that. I can't rely on a hit song or something to bring the audience around. Yeah. So, but playing the Ryman Theater last year, playing the Moody Theater in Austin, Texas, where they, Austin City Limits. It was just a real pleasure. The House of Blues in Dallas and Austin, and the House of Blues in Dallas and the House of Blues in Houston. Mm-hmm. Just some great places to play after so many years.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's exciting to hear.
Yeah.
So when you're opening for Buddy Guy, how do you? I guess you just said like you're starting fresh. So, I was curious how you choose a set list for that sort of gig, because you probably don't have that much time. Right?
No, you have 45 minutes. Buddy was very generous, I have to say, though. He gave me 45. Most people would give you half an hour, so that was really nice.
That is nice, yeah.
And he got me up to play with him every night, which is kind of his style. But I've known him for years. I first played with Buddy back in '89, I think. So I've been in and around Buddy all my life. But I wasn't sure he was going to get me up, to be honest with you. I didn't know. So the first night was in Los Angeles at the Saban Theater. Mm-hmm. And we packed up like we weren't getting up with him. and then a lot of guys were, my road manager and some of the crew were leaving. And all of a sudden it was like, and welcome Colin James to the stage. And I had to use one of his guitars because they had packed up all my stuff, so that was really cool. And that was really nice. And now we're getting down there every year. We get down to California every February now.
Okay.
And start a tour from LA up to Seattle, and that's become a yearly thing now, and no different this year. So yeah, that's been really nice. And it's always nice to expand where you play, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, well, that's really awesome, considering you're on your 20th record, but you still have that feeling of like going out and getting something new to conquer. I think that's maybe something people lose sight of as they get older, maybe in their career.
Well, I had to play Tampa Bay Blues Festival last year, and I wasn't headlining. I was first up.
Yeah.
I was first up at 1:00 in the afternoon. And it's kind of it's like, wow. I gotta put on a show now to people who don't necessarily know who I am, and some people might, but some people might not. So it was really cool. We got to play Boca Raton, and played a really great blues club down there that a lot of that people like Jimmy Vaughn play at, and it was really great. Just had a great time, and that's my whole concentration now. Is like, I'm making another record in November. I go into a studio in Nashville starting on November, I think 8th.
Okay.
And I'm working with Colin Linden, my old collaborator. I've done my last 3 records with the same guy, Dave Mazzaros, who's a producer out of London, England.
Okay.
But Colin and I have done, I think, 4 records to date, and this will be our 5th.
Okay.
And and it's really, he's been living in Nashville now for about 25 years.
Okay. Cool.
And and I'm really looking for, I think we have a really cool thing planned, a really cool band planned. I've used my own band for the last 3 records, but on this one I'm going to be using some hired hands.
Okay.
And I think we got the drummer from Bob Dylan's band, Charlie Drayton, playing drums. And
cool.
so, it should be really exciting. And in the meantime, I'm touring all fall. I really have no time off until December. And then by that time, I'll have a record in the can. And in the new year, we're doing a record. We're doing a one-off little big band show at the Commodore here in Vancouver. It's the 30th anniversary of Little Big Band 1. And I thought I'd be amiss not to give a nod to 30 years. So I called up the sax player from the original band from Roomful of Blues from Rhode Island, and he's going to fly out to Vancouver. And we've already sold out the first show.
Wow. That's
and
awesome.
The second show goes on sale today. Yeah, it's really, really fun.
Yeah, and those little big band records are a nice little kind of like that little swing revival that happened after you put out the first record. I guess it comes and goes, but that's such a great record. It's so awesome to hear that you're celebrating that 30 years.
Yeah, well, the first record, I'm not saying the second record wasn't special, but the only thing about the second record, if there's anything I didn't like about it, was the fact that it was shrouded in a fad.
Okay,
it was, and it was okay. Like, I'm glad I got there for it because I was, doing it back in '93. But I found sometimes when something's fad oriented, a lot of people who are there for the zoot suit, not the music, and but that's cool. I mean, it still got us to New York, and I got to play B.B. King's Club in New York on that tour in '98, and we played the what's it called, the Lincoln Center in New York, and we had some really great times. But that first little big band record was special to me because we were really doing something against the grain, and I just felt, I don't know, it felt like God knows we weren't pioneering anything. This music was done a long time ago. Mm-hmm. But we were pioneering maybe for a new audience, and kind of before Brian Setzer was doing it in a way. So that was cool.
Yeah, it was kind of refreshing at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, I'm really proud of that record. We did the whole record in 2 weeks.
Nice.
That's including mix and everything. So, it was hilarious. When I think back, we did the whole record in the time it took. I think it was it Metallica or Motley Crue? Somebody was recording next to us, and they did one solo in the time we did a record.
Well, sometimes it's good just to get in there and not overthink it. I mean, that adds to the vibe sometimes. So.
Oh, for sure. I was nervous as hell. I mean, I had to start playing with. I never met Room Full of Blues.
Mm-hmm.
Here's this veteran R&B unit who used to play with Stevie Ray Vaughan and Ronnie Earl and all these people, and I'm some kid. Well, I was 20-something, 21 or 22, whatever I was.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to go and meet these guys like out of the blue, and I remember leaving home just being nervous as hell.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked in, and they were super nice, and we just recorded right away. I think 4 or 5 songs the first day, and it was a great experience. I love playing St. John, though. I can't wait to get there. I have a favorite record store I always have to pop into.
Okay, perfect. What store is that? Do you remember?
I can't remember the name. It's on this little side street.
Yeah.
And last, I think so. And I got actually one of the songs off the last record I got from vinyl. I bought there. I cover Otis Redding on the very last track of Open Road.
Okay.
I bought that record. I bought that. I knew Otis Redding's book, but the record they had there had that song on it, and I'd never heard it before. So I'll have to thank them for the last track of my record.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's I Love You More Than Words Can Say, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's coming up on Saturday the 6th. So do you still get nervous when you're going, like you said, you're getting ready to do a new album this November? Do you still get nervous and anxious when those occasions arise?
Yeah, I take every record really seriously. I mean, every record is a kind of a part of your life. It's going to be a part of your life 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going to be a part of your life for the rest of your life. And I don't know. I look back at records I did when I was super young, and I'm not always happy with them. Like if I look at my first record, my second record, I think I could have done a lot better, but I was young, so you got to give yourself a bit of room. Mm-hmm. and I take it very seriously, man. You really want to make a great record. You really want to make it better than the last record. You really, this record coming up, I've written a lot of songs this time.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had a lot of time to talk to my co-producer yet. We're going to knuckle down in the next few weeks. And really, make sure we're on the same page. But I get nervous. I get nervous before I play shows, But I try to use that nervous energy, turn it into good energy, and I love it. Like this band I tour with now, I'm really fond of.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the guys in my band are people who came and saw me when they were young kids.
Cool.
Like Jesse O'Brien, the keyboard player, used to come see me when he was a kid. Steve Mariner, I got a picture of him backstage seeing me at the Ottawa Blues Festival when he was 13 years old.
Wow, that's neat.
He's fronting Monkey Junk in front of my band. He also plays with me.
Okay.
So, Chris Cadell, the guitar player, he actually just got married. I was just at his wedding. He started playing with me when he was 28 years old, and he was playing my songs at his high school when he was 15 for his high school concert. So it's just neat, man. I'm surrounded by very like-minded people and very proficient players, and we're just having a lot of fun right now. This summer we played a lot of really fun shows, and I just love my band right now.
Yeah, that's exciting. I love hearing those kind of stories where, someone grows up admiring someone, then all of a sudden, before they know it, they're working with that person. So that's really cool that you're able to kind of provide that experience to others.
Oh, absolutely. It's really fun. And Jesse, my keyboard player, is actually down in Nashville right now.
Okay.
He's playing with the Nashville, the TV show Nashville.
Okay.
That was on that. The Colin Linden, the guy who's co-producing my next record, he was the house band. He was kind of on the set of that show the whole time. So he hired Jesse. They take that show on the road with all the actors, and they actually take it on the road. So Jesse played the Ryman Theater last night with those guys in Nashville, and we got a chance to play the Ryman with Buddy on that last tour too, and that was fantastic too.
Okay, cool. Are you recording at Blackbird Studios by any chance when you're down there?
Interesting you should say that. I'm not. However, John McBride, the owner, is a friend of mine.
Okay.
I'm super good friends with John's sister.
Okay, cool.
John's sister lives here in Vancouver.
Ah, okay.
And John's married to Martina McBride.
Uh-huh.
And so it's a web. It's a web. So last time I was in Nashville, I got my crew a tour of the studio. John walked my front of house and my monitor man through the whole studio, and it is something else, man. It's like they have abs. They played me Beck in surround sound. I got to hear Beck did those two morning phase.
Yeah.
And I think, and Sea Change. I think he did both records. But anyway, I got to hear the 7.1 mix of that when I was there. Yeah,
Morning Phase is such a beautiful record. Yeah.
My God, it's one of my favorite records of all time. I absolutely adore that record. Yeah. I went to Venice with my wife years ago, and that's all we listened to for the whole trip. And it just reminds me of Venice.
That's a beautiful soundtrack.
Yeah, I love Sea Change too. Those records are almost interchangeable for me. Okay. I dig them both.
Okay.
Cool. What was I going to say though? I'm recording. Last time I recorded there, I was at the House of Blues studio. Okay. But Colin Linden built an absolutely beautiful studio right in an outbuilding right behind his house.
Okay.
And he's been recording there lately with Lucinda Williams and with T-Bone Burnett.
Cool.
So it's a really nice studio, and I get to live right in the studio. There's a shower and a bed and everything. So that's where we're recording.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I was wondering, I don't want to take up too much of your time here, but I was wondering if you could maybe talk about the difference between touring Canada and touring the U.S. I feel like that's something a lot of people don't put a lot of time to into thinking about.
Well, I mean, it's no secret that Canadians often have a hard time breaking into the U.S. And I think it's not just that it's hard. I mean, it's hard. Obviously the population is so much bigger than ours. California has the population of Canada, so the payoff is huge. But the money you have to spend to get that payoff is so huge that most people just opt to bow out.
Okay.
Because it's going to cost you everything you make and more.
Is that
so? If you want to save any money,
you don't
get paid the same
for things like that.
It's just that it's so huge. If you don't have an independent publicist, if you don't have an agent who's really trying to bust you there,
okay,
where it's a lot of work. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get paid the same as Canada, so you got to take your Canadian revenue and you got to fold it back into the States.
Okay.
And if you're not independently wealthy, that's a quick route to the poorhouse.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So a lot of people just kind of go, it's easier just keeping it in Canada. I can't bear it. Mm-hmm. It's hard on the nerves, right? So, we're making an attempt lately, and it's expensive. Mm-hmm. And, the pandemic just hit, and a lot of people were really affected. I mean, when you don't work for 2 years, that means you're going into your savings, and that means you're going into your nut. And that, I don't know any other industry that couldn't work for 2 years, like literally could not work. Mm-hmm. That's a lot. So, it's just tough. And I think, it doesn't matter how big you are, whether you're tragically hip or whoever you are. It's just tough. And I had kind of given up until I realized that the blues has got a whole nother market. that you can grow into, and that's what we've been doing. The blues crowd started embracing me,
Okay.
so that made it easier to make the move. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So you said okay. So yeah, you got a little nibble. You sensed something was coming, and so it made more sense to pursue it. Really.
Well, I started realizing I was getting played on blues stations down there.
Okay.
And I was being invited to play the blues cruises. So, blues is an idiom where you're kind of allowed to age gracefully.
Okay.
It doesn't expect you to be 20 years old when you're playing the blues. So, you actually get a bit of gravitas.
Gotcha. Okay.
As you age. Yeah.
Well, I mean, blues has always been part of your sound anyway, right? So.
Always.
Yeah.
And, but there's a whole market down there. It's a different kind of market. It's not a pop market. It's not, and even Americana radio, is hard to break into, it's like, cause everyone from Steve Earle to Bonnie Raitt to everyone's in that thing now. Cause there's really no rock radio for older, for music that's not pop music, Okay. And so everyone ends up in the Americana, and there's just a lot of competition. Whereas blues, there's a handful of people, and if you can get into that crowd, at least you'll be able to go down there and play.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's interesting. I thought about the change in rock radio. That's interesting.
Yeah, if rock radio play me now, they play Voodoo Thing, cool. And they play 5 Long Years. Mm-hmm. Well, it's cool, but it's not cool. Like, I'm glad they play it.
Yeah, but
I wish they'd play the new thing.
Yeah,
I wish they'd play the new things I make. But those days are over for me at this point with the way radio is now. So yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm sure there's that happens to lots of artists where it's like, oh, you forget that they have other songs. Like if you were just a casual listener, you'd think this person has 3 songs, and that's just how it is. Yeah,
well, radio it's gotten very tight. And, there was a day when you could walk into a radio station, grab your acoustic guitar and play like 3 Robert Johnson songs on popular radio. Well, they don't allow that anymore. They don't even allow you to play a new song on your record half the time. It's like, it's so corporate, and I'm not bitching about I get it.
Yeah.
Business is business, and, it is what it is, but it's too bad the days of just being able to be a little looser aren't there anymore,
Mm-hmm. Is it so?
Yeah.
Did you start your days kind of like in the punk rock scene, like with the Subhumans and DOA?
I started playing folk music, so from 13 to about 15 or 12, I was in a band very early, and I played mostly traditional Irish music and bluegrass.
Okay.
I was for a number of years. I put down the acoustic guitar and I played mandolin, so it was all
cool.
fiddle tunes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I still play mandolin. I can play Blackberry Blossom or like old stuff. I know a lot of fiddle tunes. And then at one point, I realized I wasn't hanging out with anyone my age anymore. I was hanging out with 30-year-olds, and I was in grade 9. New wave had hit. Punk had hit, and then new wave, and then here I was playing fiddle tunes with old hippies. Yeah, okay. And I thought, oh my God, I'm missing my youth. I better jump right in. So I started a band, and next thing you know, we were opening up for Regina's local punks, the Extroverts.
Okay.
And after opening up for the Extroverts, we started playing, opening up for Subhumans, for DOA a couple times. We opened up for the Young Canadians with Art Bergman. And I had a good time, and it allowed me to play. I played in a reggae band for a while, if you can even imagine that.
Cool.
Yeah, there was a guy from the Bahamas who ended up in Regina, Saskatchewan, and we ended up doing all Bob Marley for about a year of my life, which I love.
Yeah, cool.
I love that was no problem. But yeah, I did, and then I realized at 16, that it wasn't really me. I should really go back to what I was doing, and I went back to the blues.
Yep. Cool. That's a good experience to have, though, because to be involved in that scene and see it, and get a taste of it.
Oh yeah, I got to play, play the local dances where everyone was at, and all the young kids were going to, and it was great. And any time in my life I've been able to do something else, something different.
Mm-hmm.
I got to be someone else's guitar player only twice in my life, where my job was just to play guitar for someone else.
Okay.
And I always loved that because the pressure wasn't on me. I could just sit back and do my parts and sing harmonies, and it hasn't been my lot for a long time now, and I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, a little less pressure. But you must like. Do you kind of like being a manager as well? Like you obviously do like being a leader.
Well, it's just kind of what I've always done, and I really do enjoy. I do enjoy leading a band. I love collective energy, and I love energy's been my thing. I just love hitting the stage and making the show flow. That's my thing.
Okay, cool. What about just a couple more questions, just because I'm kind of curious. I'm sorry if I'm using up too much of your time, but I came across an album called "For the Blues Always" by Big Dave McClain. Is that something? Is that an album you produced? I was kind of wondering if you were going to produce any more albums, if there's anything there.
No. I did that record because I love Dave.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up with Dave. Dave gave me some of my first gigs playing with him way back when. And at one point, I just thought, oh my God, he still hasn't had a record out. He had one record, one or two, but they were, low budget. And I just at one point thought, oh my God, so I phoned Holger Peterson from Stony Plain. And I said, hey, Holger, we got to make a record for Dave, And so Holger said, absolutely. And I did it. We did it on a pretty low budget. I did it in my house. Cool. But I really didn't do it to become a producer. I did it mostly just because I wanted to help Dave.
Okay, yep.
And he went on from then and kept on making records for Stony Plain, and has to this day. And it kind of got him out in the public eye farther. He won the Order of Canada last year, which was really exciting, and not won. It was honored by. Mm-hmm. So it's been great. So that was like a labor of love for me.
Okay.
I don't really have I love engineering. Lately in my studio, I'm really active in my studio. I really enjoy my gear. I love my Neve strips and my APIs and my I love it. And I'm better in the studio than I've ever been right now. I'm better at producing my own demos. I'm pretty good at lately. I do my own engineering long distance, even on my own records. So I enjoy that, but I really just want to make records. I have no real so far, I just never really got into the producing thing. No.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's because this new record you kind of did remotely with your producer, right? But that mean you had to be miking things up in your home studio. Yeah. But he was there to kind of say, okay, 2 inches, go back an inch, go back 2 inches. He actually watched me place the mics. Okay. He did.
It was pretty funny.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah, but on Skype, I'd take my iPad into the mic room and I'd show him, and he'd go, okay, let's listen to that. And, we were both on the same feed.
Yeah.
And he'd go, okay, I think that's all right. And then he'd help me set the compressor. And
That's cool.
But now I have a chain. Like a vocal chain that never changes. And it's all pretty set and forget in my studio these days. And I'm just really loving. I've been doing all my own demos lately and just have a ball. I love that workflow when you get going and you're editing and you're crossfading, and I love it, man. It's a thrill.
Yeah, you get in the zone. It's almost like painting. Sometimes you're just like watching this picture come to life.
Hours will go by. I'll tell my wife, okay, I'm just gonna go and throw this guitar down. I'll be right back. And I'll come staggering it at 2 a.m. She goes, I knew it,
Yeah.
So absolutely. That happens a lot.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm kind of a big reader, so I was just my last question was about books. Is there any, like, I know you read history books. Do you have any suggestions, or have you read any good books lately?
Yeah, I just read a book on Istanbul. Okay. It's just called Istanbul. I can't remember the author offhand. I'd have to look through my iBooks. But I thought, I mean, I've read a few books on Istanbul, but this one was like killer. I just loved it. It was it really through all the years. Let me see. I'm reading a book called Indigenous Continent by Pika Hamalainen. And it's just about early communities like Chaco Canyon in New Mexico and early, I'm reading a book on Putin called by Philip Short called Putin.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading The Islander by Chris Blackwell.
Okay.
I always have a few books on the go because sometimes if it's just straight history, I like to change it up with something else here and there. But the book on Istanbul, where is it? I'm looking for it.
You enjoy that part of the world in general?
I can't find. No, it's not so much that. I just find Istanbul with its Roman, it's Venetian history. It just was a crossroads city, that got sacked and changed hands so many times over the years. And if you go to Venice, all the stuff in Venice that's up on the buildings were all stolen from Istanbul,
Oh, really?
And Christian, it was Christian, and then it was Muslim, and then it was, back and forth, and it's just interesting. It's just a very interesting. I've never been there, but would love to go one day.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll add that to my list. That sounds pretty fascinating.
Yeah, some history books can be really dull, and I just thought the author really had a way of bringing it to life. And I'm going to find. Let me find you the. Let me find you Istanbul. I'm going to find this for you if it kills me.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to know that. I want to make sure I get it.
Okay, Thomas Madden.
Thomas Madden. Madden?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Madden, exactly, yeah.
Okay, Thomas Madden.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And fantastic.
Okay. And could I pitch you a book just about New Brunswick? It's kind of, about this area of the country.
Sure.
It's called Remembering and Forgetting in Acadie.
Okay.
And it's kind of about the...
I'm looking...
It's by Ronald Rudin, Rudin.
Okay, I'm looking it up on my iBooks. Remembering and Forgetting. Okay, so Thomas Rudin. Let me get his name here. Is that what you said, Thomas?
Ronald.
Ronald Rudin?
Yeah.
How do you spell Rudin?
Rudin.
Remembering and Forgetting Acadie. Oh my God, $41.99. That's how much they charge for that iBooks. Holy smokes!
Yeah, that's more than the. That's probably more than the physical copy I'm holding.
I think they upped the prices on books that aren't as easily found or so. I don't know.
Yeah, it might be a niche one, but it's cool. It talks about how when the French and the British first came to the Maritimes, and then they eventually started deporting the French settlers, the Acadie. And anyway, it's pretty. I'm only about 100 pages into it, but it's interesting to just kind of learn about that part.
Who ended up in New Orleans, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Canadians ended up. A lot of them ended up down in New Orleans.
Yeah, crazy. It's amazing. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Cool. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your time, Colin. I feel like I've probably taken up more than I was supposed to already.
That's cool. That's good. All right, man. Well, have a great day, and I'll see you down the line.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I hope to see you at the show on October 6th, and I'll be sure to plug that a few more times.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye.